So in this lecture we will discuss a few things about conductors and dielectrics. Okay. So first of all, what is a conductor? Conductor is something which can conduct electricity, right? So can conduct electricity. Why they can conduct electricity? Because of the presence of a large number of free charges, free electrons. Okay. So because of large number of free electrons available for conduction. And what about insulators? Insulators, they cannot conduct electricity, cannot conduct electricity. So first we will discuss a bit about conductors. Okay. So one point is, for a perfect conductor, so a conductor is called perfect if its conductivity is infinite. Okay. Sigma is nothing but conductivity. Okay. So it is the inverse of resistivity. Next point, the electrostatic field within a conductor, that means inside a conductor, this is going to be 0. Okay. So why is that? If you take a conductor, let us say, okay, and if you apply a external field, that means some external electric field is applied, okay, then what will happen? It will have some charges, right? A conductor is going to have some charges. So what is going to happen? All those charges are going to align themselves according to the external electric field. They will experience the force due to this electric field. Charges in the conductor will experience some force, right? This is the conductor. What will happen? The positive charges will experience force in the direction of electric field, but in a conductor what we have? We have electrons, that is negative charges. Okay, so what they will happen? They will experience a force in the direction opposite to the electric field. Okay, so if the field is like this, okay, then the negative charges are going to be accumulated on one side of the surface. Okay, so when there is an accumulation of negative charges on one side, that means there is an excess of charges. So here there will be all of the negative charges are going to accumulate here. So in the other end of the region there is going to be a lack, deficiency you can say, of negative charges. Then what will happen when there is a lack of negative charges? It is nothing but positive charge. Okay, so this is how there will be a accumulation of charges within the conductor. Now if you can see, this accumulation of positive and negative charges will in turn give rise to some electric field. Here there is a positive charge. Okay, so a electric field will originate away from it towards the negative charge. Here there is a negative charge, an electric field line will come towards the negative charge. Similarly, there is going to be other electric field lines like this. Okay, so you can draw here electric field lines within the conductor. Okay, and this is E internal field. Okay, so whenever there is an external field applied, there is going to be an internally generated electric field. Okay, so what happens is they will reach a equilibrium. All the electrons that experience force, they will reach an equilibrium, right? When they will reach an equilibrium? When this internal field will equal the external field. So what will happen? When the internal field is equal to the external field in magnitude, then within the conductor will there be, what will the resultant electric field? It is going to be simply cancelling, right? E external and E internal will cancel out each other. So inside the conductor there is going to be no electric field. So if there is a conductor here, then E external will be like this. It will not be there inside the conductor. Okay, so that is within the conductor. So this is basically called as static equilibrium. Now the next point is, a conductor is an equipotential body at static equilibrium. So why is this the case? We have seen E bar is 0 within the conductor, right? This is within the conductor body. Okay, but what is E bar? It is minus grad of potential. Okay, so if this is 0, so grad of a function, the gradient of a function, if it is 0, it means that that function is a constant value. It has a constant value. Okay, so that means potential is constant throughout the surface, throughout the, not just the surface but the entire conductor body. Okay, throughout conductor. So when potential is constant, this is nothing but equipotential body. Next point, if a potential is applied across two ends of conductors. Okay, so potential is applied across two ends of conductor. So in this case, can static equilibrium be satisfied? Okay, so in this case it cannot be satisfied. Why is that the case? See, if you take a conductor, okay, so you are maintaining a potential irrespective of whether the charges have reached static equilibrium or not. Okay, so how much ever the charges here, the charges, negative charges are going to get accumulated, here positive charges are going to get accumulated. So how much ever accumulation is going to take place, the potential is still not nullified because this is kept here by some external source. Okay, so in this case there cannot be a static equilibrium. Okay, so if a potential is applied across two ends of conductor, static equilibrium cannot be present. Okay, why? Because an external factor is present, right? An external factor, which is the source, is present, which maintains a potential difference across the two ends, compelling the free charges to keep moving. Okay, so what will happen? In this case, electric field will exist within the conductor. Okay, so this is the important point here. So the current that flows through a conductor, it is usually called as the conduction current. Okay, so current in a conductor is called conduction current. There is another type of current called the convection current. Okay, so this is the current that usually flows through an insulating medium. Through any insulating medium. So it can be anything, right? It can be liquid, It can be a solid, gas, or even vacuum, right? Example, vacuum. Okay. So this is current in a conductor, conduction current. Current flowing through insulating medium is convection current. There is another current called displacement current. So we will talk about it sometime later. Okay, so we will discuss it later. Now for the conduction current, the current density, right? The current density is nothing but the current per unit area. So for the conduction current, for each of these currents, the current density is going to be different. The expression for current density is going to be different. So for the conduction current only, okay, only the conduction current, the current density is given by J bar is equal to sigma E bar. What is E bar? This is the electric field that exists. Right, when we apply a potential, there will be an electric field because of which the charges will move. So because of that field, the current density J bar will be produced, and it will be equal to sigma times the electric field. What is sigma? It is the conductivity of the conductor. So here one point that you can note here is the current density, it is a vector quantity, as opposed to the current, which is a scalar quantity. Okay, so the current I can be written as the surface integral of current density dot product with the elementary area, elementary surface area. Okay, so this integration is going to give you the current. So dot product is going to give you a scalar quantity, right? So current density is a vector and I is a scalar. And finally, the last point regarding conductors, the resistance R. So we know by Ohm's law, it is the ratio of voltage or potential to current. Okay, so this is equal to, in terms of the electric field, we can write the line integral E bar dot dl bar, that is the potential, right, divided by integral sigma E bar dot ds bar. Okay, so what is this? Sigma E bar is nothing but the current density. So basically I we are writing as integral of current density dot the elementary area ds. Okay, so now one doubt that you may get here is why there is not a negative sign. So we know that the potential usually we write as minus integral E bar dot dl. Okay, but one thing you have to remember here is this negative sign, what does it indicate? It indicates that we are finding out the work done in the direction that is opposite to the electric field. See, if this is the electric field, okay, so we are doing the work in the opposite direction, right? So in that case we will have to write minus E bar dot dl bar. Okay, but what if we are doing the work in this direction? That means the movement, the charge is being moved along the direction of the electric field. Then what will happen? The negative sign will be, it can be removed. Okay, so the point here is, once we account for the direction, okay, once we know that this is the direction that we want, then you can ignore the negative sign. Okay, so that is the point here. That's why we didn't include the sign here. Okay, so next we will talk about dielectrics, some important points regarding dielectrics. Okay, so basically dielectrics, they are insulators only, but we call them specifically as dielectrics because they can be polarized. Okay, insulators which can be polarized. Okay, so what is polarization? Okay, so before we understand that, we will discuss, we will have an understanding of what is meant by electric dipole and what is the dipole moment. Okay, so this is nothing but you have two charges which are having equal magnitude but are opposite in sign, that is plus q and minus q. Okay, So let's say they are separated by a distance d. Okay, this is called as an electric dipole. That's all. Okay, 2 point charges of equal magnitude, but so you can write down 2 point charges of equal magnitude but opposite sign, separated by a small distance. This is called as the electric dipole. So the field lines, because of the dipole, they will be something like this. This is plus q and this is minus q, right? So here what will happen? One electric field line, anyways it will be like this. This is the line that is connecting these two charges. Okay, there will be other field lines like this. Okay, so this is how the electric field lines will be for a dipole. Next is dipole moment. What is the dipole moment? Every electric dipole has something called as dipole moment. Okay, so this is a vector quantity. P bar is given by the magnitude of charge into the distance vector, displacement vector, right? Whenever it is a vector, we call it displacement. Distance is a scalar, displacement is a vector, right? So here we have the dipole moment P bar is equal to q into d bar. Okay, so this is the dipole moment. Now we will go back to dielectrics. Okay, so here in dielectrics what happens is, any atom or molecule, okay, any atom or molecule that is present in the dielectric, that is the smallest unit that is present in the dielectric. Okay, so this is electrically neutral. That means there is equal positive and negative charge. So you can see the electric dipole is also electrically neutral, right? If you consider the entire dipole, right, it consists of equal and opposite charges. So what will be the total charge on the dipole? It is 0, right? So that means it is electrically neutral. So just like that, in the dielectric also, the atom or molecule, they will be electrically neutral. So what are the positive charges present? The positive charge is the nucleus, right? In the nucleus you have the positive charge, which is the proton, is present in nucleus of atom, and negative charge is the electron. Okay, so where is the electron present? They are present around the nucleus. Okay, now this is the normal position, but when an electric field is applied, okay, when electric field is applied, the positive and negative charges, they are displaced in opposite directions. Okay, displaced in opposite directions. Why opposite directions? Because when you take a electric field, if you take an electric field line, if there is a positive, let's say there is an atom here, this is a positive charge and there are negative charges all around it. Okay, now normally the positive and negative charges, they are equal in magnitude. Now what will happen to the negative charges? The negative charges will experience a force that is against the direction of electric field, and the positive charge will experience a force in the direction of the electric field. Okay, so what will happen? The resultant direction is that there will be a slight distortion of the atom. On one side there is negative charge, on the other side there is the positive charge. So it's not exactly like positive charge will be present on this side only, just a slight displacement. Okay, so more appropriately you can draw it like this. there are more negative charges at this side and less negative charges, okay, because negative charges will be present around the nucleus and the nucleus will be present slightly towards the right side, okay. So you can see that there is a slight displacement. So what will be the resultant? The resultant is that an electric dipole is formed. In this state, the dielectric is said to be polarized, is now polarized. Now this amount of polarization, right, the amount of polarization, it is quantified by a parameter called as the polarization, okay, capital P bar. Dipole moment we have defined, that was small p, right, this is capital B, okay. So this is defined as the dipole moment per unit volume. Dipole moment per unit volume, okay. Now let's say there are n number of dipoles that are formed in the dielectric, okay, in a volume delta V, okay. Then what will you define the polarization P bar? This will be equal to sum of all the dipoles, right, sum of dipoles is Q1 D1 bar, the charge into the distance between them, right, plus Q2 D2 bar plus so on till Qn Dn bar, right, divided by delta V, okay. So this you can also apply the limit here, limit delta V tends to 0, okay. So this is how the polarization can be understood, okay. Now for some dielectrics, what is going to happen? Already there will be some dipoles present, okay, already there will be some dipoles present which will be in a random fashion, okay. So this is called a polar dielectric, this is polar, okay, dielectrics are already present. Now in the presence of electric field, in presence of electric field, these are all going to be aligned, okay. So we can show this arrow, so they will all be aligned, okay. This is for a dielectric which already has some dipoles present. So it is also possible that there is a non-polar dielectric, okay. Here what is happening? There is no dipole present, okay. In the presence of electric field, in presence of electric field, dipoles will be formed. So whatever be the material, whether polar or non-polar, we use capital P bar to measure the extent of polarization, okay. So the polarization P bar, so we defined in terms of the dipole moment, okay, but we are interested how it is related to the electric field, okay. So usually for some materials, P is directly proportional to the applied electric field, okay, but this is only for some materials, okay, and such materials are called linear dielectrics, okay, and we are mostly interested with this dielectrics only, okay. So P bar will be equal to something called electric susceptibility xi e, okay, xi e epsilon naught E bar, okay, where xi e is the electric susceptibility, okay. So this is polarization as a function of the applied electric field, okay. Now the electric flux density that is inside the dielectric, okay, electric flux density inside dielectric in presence of the external electric field E bar. This is given by D bar is equal to epsilon naught E bar plus P bar. Okay. So what can you see here? If there was no dielectric, then simply D bar will have been equal to epsilon naught E bar. Okay. But there is an extra quantity here, which is the polarization. Okay. So the electric flux density inside the dielectric is going to increase. Okay. So this point may be slightly confusing, because if you see here in the dielectric material, the electric field is in this direction and the dipole is, you can see the second diagram, electric field is in this direction. The dipole has positive here and negative here. So what will be the electric field because of the dipole formation? It will be away from this positive charge towards the negative charge, right? So you can in fact draw the electric field here. Okay. So what will be the effective field? The effective electric field is going to be lesser than the applied electric field. This is due to the dipole. Okay. So the electric field is reducing, so there might be a confusion that the electric flux density also will reduce, but that's not the case. The flux density is going to increase. Okay. So D bar is equal to epsilon naught E bar plus P bar. It is increasing by an amount P bar. But what is P bar? We have already told. P bar is given by xi E epsilon naught E bar. Okay, so if you take E bar common, what will you get? Epsilon naught 1 plus xi E bar. Okay, so now this 1 plus xi E only we write as the relative permittivity. Okay, so D bar you can write as epsilon naught epsilon r E bar, or simply epsilon E bar. Okay, where epsilon is epsilon naught into epsilon r. Okay, and what is epsilon r? This is the relative permittivity. So this is equal to 1 plus xi E. The relative permittivity, it is also called as the dielectric constant. Okay. So whether relative permittivity or dielectric constant, it means the same thing, which is epsilon r. Okay. Next, lastly, we have dielectric breakdown. So what happens here when you apply a sufficiently large electric field? Okay, what will happen? It will pull away the electrons. It will break free some electrons. So free charges will be there present, right? And if there are free charges, what will happen? There will be conduction. Okay, so that means the dielectric will no longer be a dielectric, that is, it will no longer work as an insulator, it will start conducting. Okay, so that is called as the dielectric breakdown. So you can write down, when applied electric field is sufficiently large, it begins to pull electrons completely out of the molecules, atoms or molecules, right, depending on the chemical composition. Okay, and so the dielectric becomes conducting in nature. Okay, this is called as dielectric breakdown. Okay, and also what is the maximum field which can be applied without breaking down the dielectric? That is called as the dielectric strength. Okay, the maximum electric field that a dielectric can tolerate or withstand without electrical breakdown. This is called as dielectric strength. In other words, it can also be called as a minimum field which can cause the breakdown. That is also the same thing. Both are the same thing, right? So that is the dielectric strength. Lastly, in this lecture, we have continuity equation. Okay, so we don't need to know the derivation of this. Just what is the continuity equation? Okay, del dot J bar. Okay, this is nothing but the divergence of the current density. This is equal to minus of dou rho v by dou t. Okay, so this is basically derived from the principle of conservation of charge. And basically this continuity equation, it means that there is no accumulation of charges, okay, whenever the currents are flowing. So as you can see, that is nothing but the Kirchhoff's law, right? So Kirchhoff's law can be derived from this continuity equation.